Oh boy, Chris, lots changed in the last week.
Yeah, you're fired up.
Did we do this last week?
No.
Where was I?
You.
What was I doing?
It's a good question.
I was somewhere. Wasn't I in the mountains?
Yeah, you were at a mountain trip.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Staying at Eagles Breeze.
No, I don't know what the heck that is. That wasn't me.
That's on your calendar.
I don't know what Eagles Breeze is. That's not where I was. Maybe that's where you were. You didn't know it.
No, I was not there. I was here. Me, Brad, and Tommy did we did that.
Oh, yeah. So a lot's happened in 2 weeks then.
Mm-hmm.
Man, the world can change quickly.
Anything
you got a lot of
to
stories
share?
to tell.
Start off with one.
Yeah, you get me started here.
All right.
I'll interrupt you in the middle of mid-question.
And you won't be here next week either, by the way.
Nope.
Man, you're just all over the place.
Yep.
And we should mention that one last time. So that's the Smokies Gathering.
Yep.
You'll be up there Friday, but it doesn't start till when? It's later, right?
Sunday, I think. Yeah, Sunday to Wednesday.
Sunday through Wednesday. Gotcha.
Yep.
So we'll be back in 2 weeks after that.
Yeah, it's better to do it where you're off normal schedule, right? So you can have more roads to yourselves. You know, like if you gumbo up there on a Sunday, everybody's leaving, and then usually big car groups and tourists and stuff come mid to late week, and so it's a smart move by Shane, kind of put it together where I think you can still come. I don't know. You can find it in the Facebook group. It's the banner or pinned thread where you can come drive. So I'm going up early so I can hopefully get behind the wheel and do some driving so I can do more driving.
All right, so speaking of your trip last week, we have someone, Neil, here in the chat wants to know, Matt, can you please speak about the mountain coaster in Helen?
Oh,
so did
it was actually really cool. I was kicking and screaming. So we're in Helen, and I got so many stories to tell you guys here today. But we're in Helen, and we're eating dinner, Michelle and I, and she's like, I'm going to go on the Georgia coaster this time, because every time I always talk her out of it. So,
get a picture
so
of
this is the Georgia mountain coaster in Helen.
Okay.
And I'm like, I did not want to do that. And so we go up there, and I was planning. So it's like 30 minutes till it closes. So we eat dinner, and she's like, I'm getting this done. I'm like, no, come on. Trying to talk her out of it like I normally do. This is ridiculous. And so we go up there, and then I'm like, I should probably just take one for the team here. She's driving me around the mountains this whole time. I'm for a house that, and so I'm like, all right, I'll do it. But I'm scared to death. I'm like, I don't need any additional anxiety in my life. And so we did it. It was actually really freaking cool.
Now, did you go tandem or did you?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not a dork. No, I had mine. She had her own little thing, and you see it brakes, so you can control. You
control the speed, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure you do it once, then you would probably just bomb the hill. It's like it's like $17 or something like that. It's like 45 seconds long. It's really cool. It's like you're on like a legit, like super smooth, like real roller coaster, but it's just all gravity, and it's you can pull the brakes. But the way it's set up is even if you stopped in the middle, it's still pitched, so you wouldn't get hung up anywhere. At least I don't think so. But yeah, so I did the Georgia Mountain Coaster. I thought it was pretty cool.
Did you get off and go right back and get in line again? So
No, because they closed. Like we're like there were those people. And that's what other thing I didn't want to be. Those people at the end of the day, like people are trying to go home. You got two dorks from from Florida getting on the mountain coaster.
Let's see. We got people tuning in from all over today. Philippe from Canada, Dan from Minnesota, Hilke, I think I'm saying that right, from the Netherlands. He's listening to the podcast while he cleans his Porsche. That's cool. Let's see here. Larry says he finally received his Chrysler 1322 TS. All I can say is it was worth the wait, and I love it.
It was a long wait. That's the longest one in history that we've had. We've had a lot of long waits over the years of messing with these things, but yeah, thank your local governor for shutting the world down.
Let's see. Dylan says, hey, Matt, the BBSs look amazing on the E36. Have you ever considered building a set of BBS RSs?
No, I don't normally like BBS stuff. I know people really love them, and I think the E88s are going to look good. They're going to take a lot of work. They may or may not fit. We'll find out if we can get them to squeeze them into the the fender well in the rear. We probably have to roll the fender on the E36, and then the front is going to be questionable whether we can get it to fit past the suspension, the shock body. But they, I was test fitting them the other day. They look pretty sweet. But no, I never had a BBS in my life. BBS to me reminds me a lot of like Acura, Akrapovich, where it's like the standard, but it's just the standard because it's the standard, not because it's necessarily great. And I know BBS OE is a lot of stuff, and it's just one of those things. Like, I don't know, I've avoided it all these years, and then I go, well, if I'm going to do it, I might as well just get a whole bunch of them and try them. So I have the FIRs and the E92, which I don't like, and I have the RIDs, which I have on the M2, which I love. And then we have the E87s, which we're gonna see how those go. But I think they look really cool and they look so appropriate on the E36. So if I can get them to fit without too much pain, then I'm kind of excited. The ones I like the most are the MTSP, I think they're called, RE MTSP or something like that. Therefore, I would love to have those on a 997 RS. Yep, RE MTSP 19-inch forged. Those are cool looking.
So many letters. That's a lot of letters.
A lot of letters in my head, Chris.
Lots of letters, lots of numbers.
Yeah.
And he also says, this is Dylan, also, I'm glad you found the home for Destination OG.
So let's get into it.
Yeah.
It's going to take you a little while. So you ready? You don't even know this whole story.
I don't.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
So I decided to hold off on building the house here. I just feel like I know it's a bad time. I thought we could overcome that, but the further we get into this, the more I think that supply chain issues are going to cause just chaos and problems, and I'm going to go freaking bankrupt with a foundation and nothing on it. That's my ultimate fear.
So your new home that you're planning to build in the Woodgate place, right?
Is postponed.
Okay.
Yeah. Not canceled, but postponed. I still own the lot. I'll probably still finish the plans. But I'm going to hold off. I need to call John and Ryan and say, look, I'm out for now, holding off. And so because I made that decision, that frees up the opportunity. I don't want to hold up on Destination OG. I want to build this. I think it's our future of having these muses to go in and to dial in. And so that decision of holding up on building the house, combined with just I've been searching Zillow twice a week for the last 2 years, and all these houses started popping up, all these really promising, all these cool houses started popping up and showing up. I'm like, man. And the other thing that made me move a little quicker now as well is that we also made the decision that through the last year or so since we first went up there and looked at houses, like this could be like a thing. Like this could be our thing. In the beginning, it was just let me just get a mountain house, and then maybe I could rent it out to a few people. To the whole concept has evolved, where we're gonna make this like a brand, like a real deal thing. Plus the idea that I've gone and done several garages. It's a lot of work when you're doing it for other people. As much as I enjoy doing it, I really want to do it for myself. And so we need Content Hub, and so I've really narrowed down and dialed in what I think Destination Obsessed Garage would become. And so I had a better understanding of it. You have lots of houses popping up, and we decided to hold off, largely because I like the house we're in. I don't mind it. It's a nice, I can just see our kids are loving life there. It's just less stress. It's good. And we're about done with that project too. So the idea was, I'm looking at all these houses. Let me put together a listing. I emailed my realtor up there, who's been, showing me around. We decided that the Highlands we're not ready for that yet. To do a Highlands house is a much, much bigger project, generally much more expensive, because a lot of those homes up there are older, and so they're going to require a lot more work to get to where I wanted to get to. Plus, garages there are very rare. And so we're talking $1 million more than going to North Georgia. I would ultimately want something in North Georgia anyway. So Hiawassee, Blairsville, Helen, this whole area. So because I let go of the Highlands, Helen isn't as much of a turnoff. If you're in Highlands mode, Helen is the opposite of that, right? So Helen is kind of roachy and hokey.
This doesn't
and
speak to you.
right. So that was our big decision because I loved the house in Helen. Remember the first time? It was the very first house. It was the reason I went up there. It's the one I ran all the numbers on. This is how I could do this. It has the 6+ car garage and has the pull through where it already has a drain to use as a wash bay. It's perfect for what I want to do. But we were in Highlands mode, not in Helen mode, and so we went to Helen and we had a horrible meal, and it was just kind of hokey, and there was like a Harley Davidson thing going on when we were there. It was just a bad vibe, combined with the fact that we wanted to be, in the Highlands. So I gave up the building of the house. I gave up the Highlands for now, and I'm looking in Blairsville and looking in Helen, and so we had booked. I actually hadn't booked to go see the Helen house because I thought for sure the 8 houses that I'd booked we were going to be like torn on which one to get. So the Helen house was something that wasn't even like a thing. Like I wasn't really considering it. But I joked with the realtor. I said, we're going to end up with that darn Helen house at the end of all this. So we had the number 1 house that we wanted to go see. So we couldn't see that so we got up there on Wednesday. So we flew into Atlanta, rented an M4, went up to Cleveland, and then had to go to Tiger. So our first house was to go to Tiger, Georgia, which is just sort of just south of the North Carolina border. And this house was up on the top of a mountain. It was a 2-bedroom house, which isn't ideal, but it was on a 33-acre lot on the top of the mountain. And so, the question I always have there is you can only see so much because a lot of the roads are hidden by trees, and so you can Google Map all you want, and the realtors are generally not very, not very forthcoming. But we decided to go check this out anyway, just because wanted to see if this house was potential, and so we go with the realtor up there, and actually the guy who owns the house met us down at the base of the mountain and then took us up to his property, which is kind of cool because he kind of showed us. I think he learned that you'd get discouraged because you keep going up and up and up. Now the road is paved and nice, and we could get cars up there. It doesn't snow all that much there. There isn't much to do in Tiger, so you could go to Clayton, or you could go back down to Clarksville or something if you wanted to go to Home Depot or whatever. But the question I had for this house was, the house is totally not our style, but the property was amazing. You could get ATVs and go ripping around. The view was like nothing I've ever seen in my life. It was just amazing. So the question is, could we add some other bedrooms? But we would have had to, it was way too nice to gut. He'd already gutted it. It was way too much money to do that. But the real enticing thing about that house is that I could have, built 4 more houses on that property. He actually had 2 more lots. So it was a total of 40 acres that I could have bought. And so that was kind of intriguing to go see what could it be like if we got something, and then that house would actually become like a guest house someday. But it was $2.2 million, and I would need to spend a lot of money to pave the driveway and all kinds of things. So that we immediately knew we really appreciated seeing that, but we knew that wasn't the house for us. So the second house we saw was in this community, and this community is called Lake Lasciola. And I always do all my homework beforehand and read the community covenants, looking at which are they call them CCRs up there, but it's the HOA agreement, what you're signing up for. And so the second house was the blue house. This was the one where we were walking down the mountain and trying to get back up. I cannot explain to you, I know I'm a little chubby, but I could go run a mile in 6.5 minutes. Even though I'm a little chubby, I'm in decent enough shape. And Michelle was in better shape than me. And we were dying walking back up because it was 300 feet down, hoping you don't tear your ACL all the way down there. And then we had to get all the way down there and then get all the way back up. You couldn't see the lake from the house, but the house had potential. It was a nice, normal-looking house, 3-car garage, had a bunch of bedrooms, had a little home theater you could turn into. Everything was really dark, so we could transform it with lighting. But it just felt kind of like a regular closed house with low ceilings, and it had really nice cabinets and really nice appliances and things like that. And the garage was okay, but it wasn't like a special house. It was a regular house. But we knew that this house sure looked like the same model as our number one house. And the number one house is in the same community. The problem with this community is it has a 12-month lease minimum, right? So in order for you to rent something, you could rent your house out, but it's got to be for a year at a time. Right, so I want to turn this thing loose in the world and have. So I had come up with this cockamamie scheme, or what I would do if we didn't really like this house, but if we were to do something, and the reason why I went and looked at these houses in this community, because the lake is amazing, is that our people that are going to borrow this from me are going to be very discreet, generally very intelligent, very cautious. People that are just not going to go in there and rip it up and do stupid stuff. So I thought I could overcome that. But what we did is we only looked at those two houses because we traveled there, and so we drive around the lake. So that house with the gnarly path down was directly opposite of our number one house. But we weren't going to see the number one house until Thursday. We couldn't see it till the next day. So we drove over there to the other side, and then Michelle kind of pulled down the driveway a little bit, and we got stuck almost.
In the M4.
In the M4, and I had to get out, and we had to wave to back up to get back out of it. And the driveway. So the driveway goes straight down, turn, switch back 190 degrees. And the problem is it pitches, and so you're going to hit the frame rails and get stuck. But you can't go wide because there's a cliff, and then you drive down this gnarly 14-degree grade or some gnarly driveway. And so I'm like, there's just no way. And so we drove back to our rental, which was up in Blairsville, and which is kind of dumb. We had to go to Blairsville, and we're going to come back to this place again. But and so I just decided. I sent the message to the realtor. I said, our number one house, just cancel it. It's not going to work. We're not going to go there. She said, okay. She didn't listen to me. She didn't actually cancel it, but she just waited for me the next morning. She knew the next morning I was going to call her and say, you know what, let's go see it anyway. Maybe we can figure out a way around the driveway. So then we get up the next morning early, and we go to see some houses in Blue Ridge. So Blue Ridge is over that way, to the west. And we go over to Blue Ridge, and we see what's the first house? I forget which one we saw first.
See if I can jog your memory.
Yeah, what the heck house? I feel like I'm missing one that we went to see in Blue Ridge. I think we saw 3 in Blue Ridge, but it might have only been 2. Yeah, click there, click a little further. I want to get this story right because I know I'm going to be... Yeah, okay. Yeah, we only saw 2. So the first house we went to see was a late edition. This was like a family, like a fun family house. But it was, its driveway was probably 300 or 400 feet long, and it was all gravel, so we would have had to pave that. It wasn't in an impressive area. It was a really unique house, but it was pull out all the HGTV stops. One shower had clay tile, and then has some weird rain thing going on, and then the cabinets were some weird speckled paint and some other weirdness going on there. It was just a lot of weirdness. A lot of fun mom house, and it's just it was like the basement. There was a lot of unfinished concrete and stained concrete, and then the next room would be a motorcycle themed thing, and a lot of it was unfixable and had a cool deck, but it was it was kind of weird. But that one had the garage. There was a 4-car oversized giant 4-car garage with glass doors. It was freaking cool, and it was really well paved once you got down the half a mile long dirt driveway, and was really well paved. But it was you'd be secluded. There's nothing to do there where it was. And where it was on a highway, in the back of so you go off the highway and there's a bunch of regular neighborhoods. So it wasn't like vacation; it was like a regular neighborhood, right? Mm-hmm. But a nice house. And so that one, Michelle thought was kind of cool, but it was this just doesn't. I can make this house cool. People would like this as a pool and everything, but it's just not. It's not right. It's not as close to the roads and all of that. So then the next house we go to is on the other side of the highway, but way out in the mountains. Beautiful. We just kept going out in the mountains. It was really secluded. Probably didn't have internet. And what they left out was we're in the realtor's minivan. 4.5 miles of climbing a mountain dirt road. And it was one of those things like we got like a half a mile in. I'm like, we're almost there. Another half a mile in. We're almost there. It's like, we made it this far. Let's keep going. And you'd like have this thing where you're peeking up and you have to kind of, you can't, you ever go that and you can't see. Like, and we're in a minivan, like going to get stuck. And then someone else will be coming down this road and you'd have to back up some gnarly. It was funny, but scary. And so we go to that house. This was a really modern house. Now it's down a 4.5 mile dirt road, so obviously that isn't going to frickin' work. But we're like, we made it this far, we might as well look at it. We went and looked at it. It was these weird artists. And so they had like pictures of elephants with like rhinestone eyes. And then at the very end, so we walked through the house. It was just kind of really well done. It's funny because the realtor is like, looking at her watch, like, because we're looking at a bunch of houses and we're traveling all over the mountains. So we get there like 10 minutes late, and she saw these two. I don't think I look like a kid anymore, but maybe because I'm not wearing something fancy, people judge me. So we got judged, and then we're walking. We were like, we'll be in and out. Look, this isn't going to work. You really should say that this is down a 4.5 mile dirt gnarly road, and she's like, oh, you're gonna want to see this house we go, and it's just freaking stupid. And so we're walking out, and there's like the second level. There's like some beams, right, to hold the second level up. And on the beam, there's an Adidas flip flop. And I'm like, it's like to the beam? like straight up, like the beam is vertical, and the flip flop is like stuck straight up, like where your foot would go in the bottom. But it's like an Adidas from from Walmart or whatever. And so I go, what is that? Because this house is immaculate. Everything's perfectly clean and manicured and everything. Everything's all artsy, but it's all clean. And so there's a flip flop like stuck like this to the post. Oh, there's my realtor. What's she saying? Oh yeah, she's gonna send me the plans. Let me just tell her that while we're doing this here, because I want those plans. Send them to 39,700. Yeah, if you go to, you can see it in the listing. But so there's an Adidas flip flop stuck to the pole. I thought maybe it was just leaning up against there by accident. But this house is way too like they had us put the booties on our feet. Like everything's perfect. And so my realtor kind of touches it. It's like glued. Like it's there permanently. And so
we part of their art.
Yes. It was a art feature. It was a Velcroed on or glued on Adidas flip-flop. Not even like one of the cool like Yeezys or something, none of that. It was the most... And then we went and looked at the listing, and my realtor, she zoomed in and said, yep, that's an art feature. It was there in their listing photos. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. So we hightailed it out of there. And so I'm getting real distraught here because our number one house doesn't work. The blue house is useless because you can't even get to the freaking lake, and I probably couldn't rent it out very well anyway. The tiger thing not going to work. I'm starting to get distraught, and so then we leave Blue Ridge and we go all the way back to where we were staying. There happened to be a house in the neighborhood of the house we rented. Now this house I rented was probably like 2,500 square feet of like 1 billion rooms, and it was advertised at $319 a night. Mm-hmm. But then it's like Allegiant. After you do all this stuff, it was $880 a night. So it's like $5,600 a week. And now I'm even more convinced I've got to find a house that can work. I'm talking about charging $5,000 for a week for a mansion. This is a little dump. And they have like the single ply toilet paper, and like this is like a professional Airbnb in a regular neighborhood, right? And so they have like the paper towels or like garbage. You need like 12 of them just to dry off, a countertop. And like, why would you cheap out on it? So I'm even more convinced. Like, we got to figure this out. So, but we go back to that same community. It's called 13100 or something like that. And this house is on the lake. But the lakes there, many of them, they're like tributary style lakes because they're at the bottom of generally the mountains and stuff. So this is called Lake Notley, and it was on one of the tributaries where the Tennessee Valley Water Authority, they like let the dams go, and then they let the water fill up. And so this was an area where you'd have mud flats where it would go dry. So this is in Blairsville, is where we're at. And you can see Lake Knott. So that was Lake Notley's up there, I think. No, that's Morgantown, right there. This one.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're on this lake, and right on this side of the lake there in Blairsville. And so some of these things will go dry and they turn into mud flats, and so this would happen at times. So that's a detriment. But this is this house is listed for $1.75 million. Oh, it's on a lake, and the driveway goes down like this. But I could make do. We could get down it, but then it doesn't have like anything impressive. It's like a regular house, but it had like this really cool like basement. Like boat storage area, and the lot was big enough where you could like terrace it out and make like fire pits and make it really, really cool. The lake usually only gets drained in the winter when you're not there anyway. But it was like a regular contractor grade house, but I'm seeing potential. But again, it was in like a regular feeling neighborhood, decent view, decent lake, and all that. Lake Notley is kind of a cool lake. The roads are right nearby, so I'm starting to think, well, could I make something like this work? But it still didn't feel right. And so then we go to, let's see, what else did we do after that? So we did that one. Yeah, then we went back. See, so I wasn't feeling so great. Oh, then we went to the farmhouse. So remember, my number one house was out because the driveway wasn't going to work. But we were going to go see it anyway just to make sure we roll it out. But the farmhouse, that was my ticket. I knew this could be it. The farmhouse, because it had a big RV garage, and it had a attached big 3-car garage. And it was new construction, had really cool looking floors, and had nice kitchen. And it was just a nice modern style.
Is that this one or no?
No, that's okay. Helen. So you go back. I didn't even really video. All you see me is standing on the countertop, like this. Yeah, where I'm like, this is the biggest piece of crap I've ever been in my life. So we go in there, and it's like builder spec, cheap builder spec. Right, beautiful views. See there, then it's looking at the lake. Really nice grand entrance. That's the thing we were struggling with. Is a lot of these houses have a real tight entrance. I did forget the very first house we saw in Blue Ridge. There was another house, but it was junk anyway, so it wouldn't know any more to talk about. But see that RV garage I thought was really cool until I looked in there. It was total junk, unfinished. It had in the photos it was listed at 6,000 square feet. I'm like, sweet, I can make that work. Well, 1,200 of it was the part above the garage that you couldn't even get to. It was like a weird, but it was air conditioned. It was under air, and so it counted as square footage. There's 1,200, so now we're down to 4,800. And then about 2,000 of it was the basement. But here's the problem. We walked down the basement. Guess how high the basement was? Chest height. It's a freaking crawl space. They took some panoramic, like 8mm wide angle photos of this unfinished basement that you could turn into whatever you want. No, it was a 4-foot crawl space for storing Christmas decorations. It was crazy because you could walk down the steps to it. Normally the crawl spaces would have like an exterior. No, they made it out like this was like. So I'm like distraught. I'm like, my dream, and this is $1.6 million for a 2,800 square foot house, not on the lake, looking toward the lake, on a regular flat, half-acre lot in a garbage built, like cabinets were junk. Everything was contractor grade, because they're trying to still make money. It was just junk. Looks real pretty, but just junk. I didn't even video the thing. It wasn't even worth my time. So now I'm really distraught. I'm like, this is killing me. Like, this was my house. Like, this was my fallback. Like, if the number one house wasn't going to work, like, guaranteed. I guaranteed myself that farmhouse would be perfect. Well, it was a frickin' 2,000 square foot crap house built with garbage. So we go back to Lake Lasciola, and again, I'd sort of finagled and figured this out. So I didn't share it in the main group because I'm like, well, here's what we could do. What I could do is I could create another LLC, and I could lease it to that LLC for 12 months. then I could be really discreet, and we'd just book it like 8 or 10 times a year, and just be very clear with people. Hey, you're my friend, and then this is how I could make it work. And we would just it wouldn't be on. It would be like locked on Destination OG for Inside the Hex members only, and it would get out, but I think we could skate by long enough to where the HOA wouldn't be after me, and then we could by then no one would care because we'd been there for a year or two, and by the time we got caught, and we didn't cause any problems because our people aren't going to cause any problems. That's what I convinced myself. Worst case scenario, we got a really cool house in the mountains, and I can advertise, showing all the stuff I'm going to put it and all that. So we go there, and the driveway wasn't as bad as we thought because we didn't want to go down the driveway because the people were there, and so that made it more gnarly the day before when we went there. And so we made it. We had to 3-point turn, and so I'm assessing, could I modify the driveway to make it work. And so I'd have to make the driveway work. I have to make the house work from a rental perspective. But I think I could make this work, and we loved it. Perfect. If you watch the Inside the Hex video of me touring through it, it's awesome. The lake is insane. This house is down the lot, so the driveway is kind of gnarly. But they pitched it so that you could get your GT cars or M3s or whatever down there. And so the house to the lake you were already halfway down to the lake. And the lake is like, you'd want to go jump in and, go kayaking and fish in it and all that stuff. So we walked through it, and we actually, earlier in that day, I said, can we get into Helen one more time? Since I'm distraught, maybe it'll speak to us differently than it did in the past. We'll go to Helen that night for dinner, and we'll kind of check it out. So we love this house. Michelle's 2 thumbs up. We're going to get this darn house. This house in Lake Lasiola. I'll figure out how to make it happen. A couple of problems. It doesn't have anywhere to do like a decent couch and home theater like TV because they've got these giant fireplaces. It has a weird wine cellar thing, but the house is beautiful. 6 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, all in. I wouldn't be changing light fixtures. We would just get different furniture. It was turnkey, ready to go. The landscaping was perfect. We'd try to convince them to get the boat and everything. And this is in Cleveland, Georgia. So Cleveland's a nice little town, a couple of places to eat, and get right to Helen in 10 minutes if you wanted to go up there. So there's all kinds of stuff to do. So I figured this would be good because we'd do a more discreet, slower rental thing, borrow for money thing, and kind of build it out a little bit slower, and we'd just be more discreet about it. It has an amazing clubhouse that you could rent out, so I could host like a OG Mountain event, and you just pay and you bring a caterer in, and it's right on the lake, and really, really cool. And I just thought hopefully I could make it work. So I said, really, let's go to Helen. So just to confirm it. So we went to the Helen house, and it confirmed that we really wanted this house in Lake Lasiola. We wanted this house, so we'll call it the Cleveland house. We wanted the Cleveland house. But man, if I could do both, that would be amazing, because Helen is like the perfect house for me to transform it, but also not have to rip the roof off, do transformative bolt-on stuff. Whereas the Cleveland house is more turnkey. That kitchen is like the exact kitchen we had in our Woodgate house. It's the same range. It's the same fridge. It's just the carpeting's great. The flooring's fine. Everything's good to go. All I have to do is just kind of bolt on an outdoor kitchen, put in some Dyne Audio stuff, build a garage, build a little office upstairs. But I was never going to have my little awesome couch TV spot. And the garage was kind of weird how there was no real back wall to it because of the pull through. So driveway is an issue, HOA is an issue, home theater is an issue. But other than that, it's the perfect house for our family. The problem is we're not doing this for our family. Mm-hmm. But we're justifying it because we want it, right? And so we go to Helen. I look at the Helen house. Man, I'm like, I'm going to end up with this house someday. And so we come home, and we're ready, So we're going to make an offer on the Cleveland house.
Come home back to Florida.
Come back to Florida,
okay.
Yep. Come back to Florida. All our trip was salvaged. All that stress and this isn't going to work, and I'm never going to get a house here, and all the woe is me stuff is over. I'm going to make this happen. I'll figure out how to make it work. I always do. This house is perfect. It's exactly what we want. Very similar to house in the Highlands. We'll figure out how to make it work. Although it wasn't perfect. It wasn't the perfect, thing for what we want to do with it, which is to do a Destination OG property and showcase it and have people borrow it for money. So we come home and we make an offer. Crap. Oh, you got me set. Nice job. Oh, man, you got it nice and tight.
I refilled his water for him.
Yeah,
Those are nice and cold. Because it sits there all week and just gets tepid. And
So, sorry to super chats. We'll get to you in a minute. I'll even finish the story. So, we come home and we're making an offer.
On the Cleveland house.
On the Cleveland house.
Okay.
So the house is listed at $1,825,000. Now remember, I'm born in the trailer park. I am not buying a mountain house out of rich and famousness. I'm buying this as our big risk for where I think our company is headed next. I might be wrong. We're not really buying this because I'm just flush. Right? We're buying this because we want to showcase a product. We want to muse. We want to build this destination experience. I've been talking about this for years, and we finally figured out how to do it, how we could do it, and how we could really help what people would want, what I would want to purchase. From a if someone was going to borrow a house and what that experience would be like. Plus me going to the mountains dozens of times and having to stay in stink shacks, with no garages, nothing cool. So we make an offer for $1,625,000. We're going to finance this. We're going to put 20% down, right? But I want the boat. I want the Speed Queen washer and dryer, and I would like to have the Kubota, which is like the little UTV thingy, right? Because Michelle wanted that to drive stuff up and down from the lake. And we'll close in 40 days or something like that. I'd already lined up financing and all that stuff, so we're good to go. We're qualified, and we're good. And I got that all done, like between us making an offer and deciding to make an offer when we got home and when we made an offer. So we get the offer drawn up with our realtor on Friday. And then she submits it to them on Saturday morning at like noon or something like that. And we gave them 48 hours to sort of decide. And I knew that was shooting a little low, but that was based on comps. So we did some comparative studies. And the problem is that there's no sense in getting all the way down the 11th hour, and then the appraisal comes in and the thing appraises for $1.5 million, which is pretty likely, based on the numbers we came up with it was worth $1.622 million. So we offered $1,625,000. They were a little shocked because they wanted to sell it with all the furniture. Every piece of furniture would need to go up one at a time up a 300-foot driveway because you couldn't get a moving truck down there. So you'd have to roll it up on furniture dollies, and so they were freaking out. They brought it in one piece at a time over several years. Now they're going to have to move the stuff out. What I didn't want to do, I would have taken their furniture, but I didn't want it long term. So I don't want to spend another $100,000 on furniture that I don't want. But it would be nice to have it because then we could, we could go there and have it set up. So, but I didn't want to. I'd pay $10,000, $20,000 for it, but not $100,000, $200,000. So we thought that would hurt our ability to negotiate. So we're offering, we're waiting on a counter, we're waiting, and so then Monday around after their deadline, so Monday at
so noon was the deadline, right?
Correct. So okay. Monday at 3 p.m. we got a soft counter from their realtor. No to the boat, no to the Kubota. Yes, you can have the Speed Queen washer and dryer because I didn't want to move that anyway. And they said they were toying with the idea of $1,750,000. So we waited, never got a formal counter. And then they also said, which was a non-starter for Michelle, we're going to need another 2 weeks to move out after you close. I'm like, well,
now we're at 8 weeks.
That doesn't work because you have no ramification. You can hold some money back, but if they jack up all the walls and damaged stuff, and how are we going to do this? Generally, you have to be out of there. That's the rule. So I was like, well, we would have to. Why don't we just push closing back another 2 weeks or something like that? But Michelle's like, no, I don't want to do that. So we soft countered back and said, all right, $1,700,000, no boat, no Kubota. But you got to be out of there, like on our closing date of like June 20th or something like that, which was like 42 days or something, 40 days, something like that. And so then this was like, I think Monday later at night, and they said, no, we're just not taking $1,700,000 for our house. We're out. We would need to be, then the target moved to July 4th, and then it moved to July 15th, and then it was like, well, we want to be out at the end of August. So we just said we're done. And then the light bulb went off for me. Another thing that happened on Saturday, so we're making the offer. The offer wasn't submitted. But on Saturday, remember, I'm trying to be discreet about this. But we were in Lake Lasciola, and I'd mentioned it when we saw the blue house. And so somebody who watches has a friend who lives in Lake Lasciola. And I just put that video up like Friday afternoon, right? And so I got a message on LinkedIn. Hey, my name's whatever Joe, and I live in Lake Lasciola. I have this garage I'm building. Check it out. I said, hey, yeah, that's cool. Let's. We ended up chatting on the phone, and so then that really got my gut. I'm like, oh boy, he would be fine. He wouldn't care, But if somebody found out that lives there like 20 minutes after I posted a video, and I'm trying to keep this somewhat discreet
for a year,
forget it. Oh. Yeah, forget it. I'm screwed. So in this whole offering and negotiating, it just didn't feel right. The other risk is that after doing some more research, we had a long 28 due diligence period because we needed to make sure we could fix the driveway so I could get cars down there. The other thing, as I'm doing research and I'm looking at the plot, the top of the driveway where the switchback is, that I need to modify, is not even on my lot. It's on the neighboring lot, and they have an easement. And so whenever they build on that lot, then they're going to use the same driveway, and then the neighbor uses the same driveway. And so I'm like, man, I could get in there and then not be able to fix this darn thing and do it, set it up the way I need to set it up in order to get in there. So that's kind of getting me nervous. And so at the end of this, when they said, $1,700,000 isn't going to do it, what they were looking for us to do was say, well, all right, full ask, we'll take all the furniture for another $100,000. That's what they were hoping we'd do. So but what we found out later, the house is now pending, so there must have been somebody else in the mix at the time. So the instant that happened, I knew what to do. And I'm not trying to just get a house here. I want to get the right house. The other thing that happened in this trip before we left, the reason why I saved this for the end here, is we went to Helen after we looked at the Helen house, which was the very last house, and we settled on we were going to make an offer on the house we just lost here in our story. We went to a sushi place, and it was like the most amazing sushi I've ever had in my life. And the Georgia Mountain Coaster was fun as crap. And there wasn't anybody there. There wasn't some like janky Harley Davidson thing going on. I'm like, Spice 55 was the most delicious place, and lots of people told me to go there, but we couldn't go. We just didn't have time to go there when we were there last time. It was amazing, like way better than VKI, my favorite place.
So in the end, it was sushi.
Yep. So the sushi put me over the top. I'm like, man, well, at least we got someplace we could eat. I was just excited because it's only 20 minutes from Cleveland, from the Lake Lasciola place, and so it like immediately dawned on me. It just clicked. I called the realtor, 10 minutes later. I'd actually talked to Rick about it too.
Your business coach, Rick.
A business coach about, and I'm showing him the house. He's like, what are you doing? You need to buy this Helen house. Are you stupid or something? This is like before our deal was even done. And I left the part out about the whole rental thing. He would have been really, really yelling at me if I would have told him that. So I called Kim, my realtor, who happens to be the realtor for that house, and I said, I need the Helen house. Get this done. So we are under contract on the Helen house, and it's freaking cool.
And that's the one you started out last year looking at, right?
The very first house I looked at, and it was still for sale. And the reason it's for sale, it's like the most expensive house anywhere around. So that's strike number one. This is why we didn't buy it in the first place. Strike number two, it's in Helen's kind of roachy. And strike number three is, for us originally it wasn't the Highlands. And so when we decided to be in North Georgia and we had some delicious sushi, we learned that this is really the least risky proposition because it's the most OG spec property that I could get. You know what I'm saying? Other than the fact that it's in Helen. But a lot of people are going to go there one time, and Helen's a great one-time place, and I would envision this house being borrowed like 70% of the time. It's going to be that freaking cool. So this was my original plan from the beginning, and it's funny how it all came to fruition. It was still for sale. It was for sale for a lot less than what it was originally for sale for. The guy was really willing to deal, and so he's actually going to hold the mortgage on it, and so that means I can, don't have to go to a bank. We don't do all that crap, and so it's really going to be a great situation, really work out, and so we're going to make it happen. So we closed June 14th. They're doing the inspection on it right now, so I should get a call here in the next hour or two about what the inspection report, what comes about in it. They're sending me the plans so that we can start to design and order stuff. We've come up with a few really cool things that I think people are going to like. One, we're going to run a giveaway. We're going to call it or a winner thing. So the June 15th to July 14th, so for 30 days, or 15th to 15th, or whatever that works out to be, we're going to do a giveaway, and it's going to be Milwaukee based because we're launching our all of our Milwaukee packages and all of that. And so for every $5 in Milwaukee you buy, you get an entry to win a week with Matt or not, meaning with or without Matt. So somebody's going to, whoever buys, Milwaukee and gets an entry, and we'll have a few other things as well. You gain entry, and then we'll get you a plane ticket or help you get your car there or something. I got to figure out all the stipulations, but you can go spend a week. We'll hang out for a week in the mountains, detailing cars and playing with audio equipment and talking life and business, and maybe, hopefully, in my case, going for some drives. Worst case scenario, I'm showing you where to go for drives. And so we're going to draw a winner, in the first couple of weeks, and then we'll figure out when the house is done. The other thing we're going to do is that we're going to have the entire OG staff go up with us in waves. This is going to be the house that OG built. We're going to build this ourselves. So the house is already built, but we're going to modify it ourselves. We're going to build the garage and do all the stuff. And we're going to send, 4 or 5 of us are going to come out at a time. We're going to have really amazing footage, and we're going to vlog this whole thing. We're going to figure out where to eat, what to eat, where to go whitewater rafting, where to go tubing, where to go mountain biking, where to go hiking, where to go to the waterfalls, where to sightsee, where to drive. We're going to have all this stuff documented. It's going to be really freaking cool. So that's the plan. And Mike and I are going to go and stay there. And then, like you guys, the OG team is going to come up in groups. I'm going to rent a Tahoe for a month, and they're going to just pass the Tahoe off. So one group is going to come up, spend 4 or 5 days helping paint, do all the cool stuff, and then the next group will follow until we're done. So I'm hoping that I can have this ready to go for people to borrow. I think the way it's going to work out, I have to finalize the math. So remember, this is a $2 million, 5,500 square foot mansion.
6-bedroom? Is that what you said?
I think it's 4, but we're going to make it 5. We're going to add a bunk room. And, could certainly sleep more than that, but I don't want freaking droves, 6 families staying in my freaking house. But the cool thing about this house is it is indestructible, just the way it's built, the way it's set up. And so it's going to be pretty bomb proof. But I think it's what I'm hoping it for it to be is $5,000 a week off peak and $6,000 a week on. And then I also got, while I was there, I had called previously. I called my buddy Tom from Porsche Wilmington, who got me my GT4, got me my allocation for my touring, my paint to sample touring. They're also a BMW dealership. I called him and said, my concept, here's what I want to do, and I'd love to have a G80 M3 there. I'd love to get a new one every year, and I think we're going to have 5, 6, 8, 10 properties over the next 10 years. So I'd like to have M3s at all these places. Could we figure out a way to get allocations for these and maybe work with BMW NA to get allocations? And so he got me an allocation for the 2023 special edition that I'm doing in Techno Violet. That's going to be at the house, and so I got to figure out the insurance situation. But the plan would be you could borrow that for $1,000 a week as well, if you wanted to do that. So for $6,000-7,000 a week for a gosh darn mansion, and you could easily have you and another family go. So $3,000 a person, $3,000 a family for an amazing experience with all this cool stuff. I know I'd pay it. I rented this little stink shack for $5,600 a week, $880 a night. And so you won't have to do a week. We'll set it up to where you could book 3 or 4 days. It'd be $715 a day. I think on peak would be April through October. Off peak would be the other months. But the mountains are a great place to be in the fall as well, and especially the fall. But even the early winter. January, February are months that probably won't be as subscribed, but you can still drive. There's not a lot of snow there. So that's the story. So we're getting a stink shack in Roche, Helen, Georgia. That's the plan.
A couple questions related. People have been in the chat here. So first of all, when it comes to those Speed Queens, which model is it that you?
TC5.
TC5.
Yeah. And then
they're not very pretty,
the matching. So they had those. It was great. These people are now the Helen house doesn't. It has the freaking LG fancy ones that don't work. So we're gonna have to remedy that somehow.
Craig wants to know if dogs will be allowed at the mountain house.
No, keep your freaking dog at home. Definitely, 100% not. Definitely
not. Carbon Crew 96 has a house in Blairsville. He or she says they'll wave if they see you. I've been to Blairsville a few times. That's nice. Super chat here from Spencer. $9.99 US. Matt, you previously said that your detailing buddy recommends Deluxe Plus Gliss for wheels.
Mm-hmm.
I just bought an M340i. Curious if you'd coat the wheels with Deluxe Plus Gliss or G-Technic CSU. He is accredited to do such things.
Yeah, I'd probably do CSU on the wheels. Yep. I think it'll last longer and hold up better. So yeah, if you have that, then do CSU. If you don't, then you do Deluxe Gliss.
Couple questions here about the house. Is this house allowed to be rented?
Yes. Yeah, so there's no rental stipulations on this place. Not only that, there's a hotel in the community. It's called Innsbruck. I can publish this wherever I want and share it with the world, which is what I need to do in order for this to work. Now, we're not going to rent it to anybody in the world. It's only going to be I'm looking for people to treat this as if they're borrowing it. When you borrow somebody's tool, you return it clean, fresh, and in many cases better than when you got it. When you borrow somebody's car, we're going to have some cool things where you're going to be requisite. You have to wash it before you leave, which is important. Yeah, that's okay.
Johnny Coe says, I missed everything. Which house did Matt decide on? Well, you're going to have to go back and listen, Johnny Coe. I just went through that. It's a nice house, though. Let's see. A couple questions here from Tyler. Could you apply Powerlock Plus and then Colonite with a DA on lowest speed, or is hand application the only way to go?
No, you can. I don't recommend that. You could end up with some marring and stuff, but you want the softest pad you can get. And, $50, yes. $50 for tomorrow.
Eric Sanchez wants to know, how's the closet build going? Is it all done now? Let's wrap up the closet build at your house. The interim house is no longer the interim house.
Say that again.
Closet build, is it done?
Yeah, 100% done. It's freaking awesome. So good. So just to update you on the closets, I got these things and I bought all the remaining amount they had in stock. These are pretty obscure. This is from a cabinet company. They do cabinets and they have some closets, and they've they're really great at this. So normally closet companies are closet companies, and cabinet companies are cabinet companies. But so these guys have all the cabinet skills, and so they know quality, but they just haven't really focused on it. And so I'm going to add a focus to this. And so what's happening is that all the stuff I have is 30 seconds thick. It's melamine over particle board, but it's heavy duty, dense stuff. Is made in Italy, and it's laminated extremely well. It's just I'm telling you, I just went through 8 multi-million-dollar houses, all have closet organization, and they're all junk in comparison to this stuff. I'm telling you. It reiterated even more seeing these, fancy houses with these, closets that people paid a lot of money for that were terrible. So they are bringing it back to the U.S. So they've been working on for the better part of a year plus to bring their production to the U.S. And so they have a facility in North Carolina that will be manufacturing this, and they've actually bumped it up to 1 1/8 inch because they're going to have a 3/4 inch thick line and an 1 1/8 inch line. So it's going from 1 inch to 1 1/8 inch, which is negligible in this case. But they'll also have a lower cost 3/4 inch line, which some people can opt to do as well. Like maybe you do the 1 inch line in your master, and you do the 3/4 in your others, which will cost a lot less. So we'll have a whole suite of colors as well to be able to offer here soon. So I'm hoping the next couple of months we'll be fully operational. Sean and Ed and Kyle already are up to speed on how to design them and help people figure it out. So it's going to be great. And we're going to put the closets in the Helen house to get it, get that one dialed in. Even though that house has a ridiculous amount of closet organization stuff already, we're going to rip it all out and redo it.
CJ wants to know, do you plan to own multiple homes in the mountains, or will you sell this place to get the next one?
No, the plan is if this books up like I think it's going to, then to go get another one and do it again. But after this one's dialed in, and then after that one's all dialed in and booked up, then we go get another one. And I'll do as many as makes sense, and I just love the project, and then I get bored with it once I'm done, So I want to. This house again is just the best first house. I want a house in Highlands, North Carolina. I want a house, I would love to have that house that we just lost, where it was more discreet and it was, my place to go to, but. I want also, it would be awesome to have the flexibility to book all the houses up fully, and then just I can go up there and fill in whichever house makes sense and go dial some stuff in. And just think about all the cool, content where I'm going to be washing cars up there, driving cars up there. So all the same car stuff with the added benefit of, modifying homes and doing all the cool stuff with that.
All right, somebody wanted to know here, one of our Canadian buddies, if Huge is the same as Speed Queen, just
I don't know.
The
sure looks like the same site, same font.
Let's see here.
That's the Canadian version.
Yeah, that was the Canadian version of it, basically.
I'd really like to get a hold of the Speed Queen, the professional ones, see how they do. Yeah, that looks like the same thing. Definitely Speed Queen.
All right, let's see. Let me get back to this question up here. The Adidas shoe, yeah, that was interesting. Adidas shoe. Southern Motoring Solutions says, I have my truck Sealajet coated. It came with the purchase of the new truck. After 2 months, it's got 0 beating. I know it's junk. What should the prep steps be at this point to get it coated in a DIY method?
They didn't do anything, so you don't have to do anything differently than a regular decon. That Sealajet is just, they don't do anything. They didn't put anything on your car, likely. They drive it out back, say they did it, and they didn't do anything. It's just like a paint warranty. So, yeah, you won't have to do anything. Never buy that stuff.
Shane Joseph wants to know, is it necessary to have a water softener and reverse osmosis?
I don't think so, but neither one of those would be what you want for washing cars. You want deionization for washing cars, if that's what he's talking about. But, if you softened your water and then did RO for drinking, that would be a really great scenario in that you've got more filtration. And because you've softened the water beforehand, your RO filters will last a lot. Your membranes will last a lot longer. So if you're doing that for whole house, water treatment, then yeah, that's a great solution. They also make whole home, RO systems.
Parker Bauer says, any idea when industrial sprayer heads will be stocked again? Yes, we have an idea. We're having them air freighted in, separate from our containers worth of Press-All bottles that are on order. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, just depends on how long that takes to get here. Shane, our buddy Shane, who's doing the putting together next weekend, says, hello, everyone. He's in the chat here today if anybody has any Smokies questions that come up. David, any place to email suggestions we would like to see in the store? Matt has too much on his plate. Yeah, email Tommy. Tommy@obsessedgarage.com. Shaz29 says, hey, Matt, I want the Milwaukee paint and detailing color match light.
Yep.
I already own the Scan Grip Sunmatch 3 and Multimatch R.
Mm-hmm.
Which should I pair with the Milwaukee light? I'll sell the other one.
Well, the Sun Match would be redundant then. You'd keep the multi-match. The only advantage of having both a Sun Match and the Milwaukee's better straight on. The Sun Match is better off axis. So, but theoretically it's redundant. You've got two handheld lights. I think the Scan Grip is probably still better. But the Milwaukee's advantage, if you're in the Milwaukee ecosystem, the battery's way better. So, and then you don't have to, like the Sun Match. If your battery runs dead, you got to go plug it in. Whereas the Milwaukee just pop a new M12 battery in there. So I think it comes down to, like, if I had a choice, just pure detailing, and I didn't have Milwaukee tools, I'd want the Sun Match 3. Just because the optics are better, the convex lens. I like holding it off axis, and you can hold the Milwaukee off axis to some extent, but it's really works best looking straight on at it.
When are the second generation Dynaudio musics coming out? I want the Music 3, but I'm waiting for the next gen.
Yeah, you and me both.
Not sure.
Still no word. Dynaudio's scrambling on that. I hope that they get something shortly, because we got a lot of orders waiting.
Let's see here. Mr. Schnell says, what made you finally go with the G80? I thought you were heavily on the fence.
Well, I don't like that car all that much, but it's really the perfect car for the mountains. It's a sedan, that people can fit in, but it's still fun enough. It'd be a way for me to experience the G80 without having to fully experience it, have it pay for itself. I wanted to be able to get new cars. That was the key. I want a new car, and I want to be able to get new cars regularly. And I think that I could pull off getting a new regular, G80 more often than I could like a Cayman or something like that.
Going back to what Spencer asked about coating his wheels, our buddy Martin chimed in, super chat. CSU and 2 coats of EXO has lasted me very well on my truck for over a year, 60,000 miles a year on his truck wheels. So there you go, Spencer. Let's see here. Improved Garage, super chat, $10. I'm an hour behind. Here's some money for being awesome. Thanks for everything.
Thanks.
What speed, Parker wants to know, does Matt recommend for an M18 polisher?
Let's see. Is he talking about the new? I guess he's probably talking about the new Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. I'm not 100% sure yet. I haven't done enough of a car. I plan to do both the M2 and the E36 here soon. I'm just waiting for the suspensions. I want to do the suspensions first before I polish them. I want to say I was running it at like 3,200, 3,300 or something like that. But I'll have a lot more data for you. I want to we're obviously shoot some videos sharing with you, the Milwaukee stuff. If you're gonna buy one, and you're thinking about buying ones here soon, those will also be part of the giveaway thing for winning a week to stay in the new house.
Jason wants to know, hey Matt, would you go with quick jack or regular jack stands as an interim solution before I can get a new SPOM? Light duty usages like tire rotations and detailing.
I like jack stands better. Jack point jack stands.
Greg Hansel says, please do a house in Colorado. You ever been to Colorado?
Yes.
You went to the Rupes thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could see something like that, or maybe Wyoming, Montana, something like that.
TJB wants to know, are the roads near Helen more fun for cars than the area around the Dragon?
They're a little bit different, a little less congested. So I think Wolfpen Gap and Richard B. Russell Scenic Highway, I would choose those 100% of the time over the Dragon. Blood Mountain is also really cool if you catch it at the right time where there isn't lots of traffic. But I like those better. And then Waya Road is kind of in between them, in between the Dragon and Helen. So those 4 roads, I think could occupy quite a bit of my time. And then, it's a day trip. It's like a morning trip up to like an hour and 10 up to the Dragon. But the Dragon is just so much more heavily populated than going out into some of the other roads and mountains.
C-Mac wants to know, who do you envision handling bookings and scheduling when it comes to the new house?
Well, Mike T and Michelle are going to kind of head that up to start, and then we'll see who ends up becoming if we have like a booking agent or something like that. It really shouldn't be too complicated because this isn't like some hospitality, like we're not the Four Seasons here. This is like we're getting you 90% of the way there. You got to do the rest. Here's the house. Get there, take care of it, get out of there. That's kind of the plan. And we'll take good care of people, but we're not like, this isn't like, hey, can you make sure that there's some a chocolate on my pillow? No, we're not doing that. We don't want it to feel like that. I want it to feel like you're at home.
Chandler says, hey Matt, you are the curating goat. Are you ever going to curate me some lawnmowers, weed eaters, and yard tools? I need you to find me a shovel that will change my life and cost $300.
I ain't doing no yard work, so I'm not doing that. No.
Patrick wants to know, do you think Esoteric or Chicago Auto Pros detailing courses are worth the price?
I think so, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I would urge you to go, when you go to different trainings, you go with an open mind. You drop your biases, you drop your preconceived notions, and you just let them dump knowledge on you. And you go to multiple ones, go to different ones. This is what I did, many years ago, is I would go and like a lot of it was confirmation, and then I'd pick up little tips. Like when I went to the Mike Phillips Auto Geek training, I picked up how to wrap a power cord. That's the thing I remember most. When I went to Esoteric, I learned how to properly, polish an edge, doing edge work. That was the thing that I picked up, most. And I'm sure I picked up many other things from these, these other places. That I've done. Going to Optimum, they had a training platform with Ivan LaCroix, and learning about rinseless and waterless washing, and learning about different techniques on polishing. And rarely did I ever take verbatim exactly what any of the training said. I never did, but I used it all as kind of hone my own process, and that I find it invaluable, even if it's just what you like doing. I wasn't doing it to make money. I was just doing it because I liked learning this stuff and like being around it. My favorite part about being at Auto Geek at the time was just seeing all the products on the shelf. I kept sneaking in the back. I wanted to go touch all the stuff and all the products.
Let's see. Jeffrey McNeil says, hey Matt, do you have any way to get other Flex hand tools that would work with the same batteries as my cordless polishers?
I mean, I could, but I haven't. So you can, for sure. We can order them all, but I mean, I wouldn't waste the time waiting for us to get it. But I'm sure some of the Flex stuff is pretty good. I mean, I like the Milwaukee stuff, so even though it's two ecosystems, I think that what's going to happen if Milwaukee makes it some sort of 3-inch or 1-inch version as well, you'd be hard pressed to unless Flex comes out with a new DA, because their current DA is nice. The XV15, I like it, but I don't love it. It doesn't have enough power to be like your sole machine. I think the Milwaukee has the potential to be like you don't need to buy Rupes. You just use the Milwaukee polisher, the 15mm polisher, 21mm polisher.
Al Daly in the chat says, of all the Ego blowers, which one is the least noisy model?
It's probably the 580, I think. They make like the 615 and the 765 make less noise. So yeah, I guess probably the 615 is probably the the 615 to me feels like it's just kind of huffing air. Like it doesn't feel as concentrated and as useful as the 580. I think the 650 has the most output, because I don't think the 765 has as much concentrated output as the 650 does, but the 650 has the most shrill, obnoxious sound. Now, when you put the little stubby on, you almost have to use ear protection. You're going to want to get some Howard Lights anyway.
Let's see. Cars and Motorcycles Exotics says, can you buy the Low Pro Viper chair in blue? I don't see that option.
You can, but not from us, unless we special order it. You'd have to get it direct from their site.
Alligator Window Tint, Super Chat, $19.99. Martin says, I'm in love with my CR6s. Now I want to do every bulb in the house. Which bulbs should I get? Can I order them through OG?
Yes. You want CR6T, and you want, just depending on the color temp you're looking for, but I think 3500 is the temp to go with. And yeah, we can order them. I think actually Cree has them in stock, so we can get those to you pretty quickly. We'll be placing our stocking order here soon. We're building that out as we speak. But if you want linear fixtures and stuff like that, we just have to order them. We'll wait 2 or 3 months for you to get them at this point. But at some point, we're going to have tons of stock of these things.
Benji says, hey, Matt, do you keep in touch with the new owners of the car giveaways? I'm curious if they all kept them well-maintained still.
The M5's changed hands. The 1M changed hands. I do occasionally, text with the guy who won the Civic. He does it, takes care of it. I'm seeing, Anuj just texting me pictures. He just got his new license plate, so, he plans to keep it for a while. I think that we did 4 cars, right? M5, 1M, Civic, and M3. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yeah, I talked to the Civic guy, but the 1M guy I never talked to after he left. He kept it for a year and sold it to pay the tax, which is smart. And then I actually heard from the guy who bought it from him, and took it to the next level. So that car's in really good hands, really good shape. And then the M5, the guy from New York, he kept it for a year or so and sold it, which is smart. That's what I would do too.
Let's see, Grant in the chat says he came in about 4 weeks ago and bought his custom wall mount setup. Daniel, Tommy, and Manny were all awesome. Tommy even customized the setup for my situation and made it easier to install.
Nice.
Excellent, Grant. Glad you made the trip. I think where is he from? Dover, Florida is where he is from.
Not Dover, Delaware.
No. Remember we looked it up that time? It's down south somewhere, southish. Shane, our buddy Shane's still in the chat. Yep, if you have any questions, fire away in the chat. Tanner said, what happened to the last garage giveaway? Not Emmanuel, but the guy after him. Do we have an update on that guy? He was waiting to build?
Yeah, I believe he got something, and he's just kind of getting it set up. So at some point, I think we'll be doing that here soon.
All right, couple questions from Instagram. The Great Avalon says, what's your wheel coating recommendation for matte bronze TE37XT?
It seems that the coating doesn't work for squat on that darn TE finish. I did Deluxe, 2 coats of Deluxe, and single coat of Gliss on Michelle's, and it seems to have already failed. So, that's what you're going to want to try. But it may have also failed because I waited like 6 or 8 or 10 weeks before I washed the darn thing. Yeah, those are just such a tough finish on those TEs. It's just not great for any kind of maintenance and coating. So I think what you want to do is you want to make sure you wash them like once a week, but I would use soap and water. Use GSF.
Brandon on Instagram wants to know, what's the best way to secure the active pressure washer to the stainless shelf?
I'm not sure. We haven't tackled that. There's plenty of plastic there, so I would think you could just through bolt, just come right up through the shelf, right into the bottom of the darn unit. But I'm not sure. I haven't played with that yet.
Well, then Dylan followed up with same question, but for the Karcher Cube.
I think most people aren't securing them. I think they're just letting it sit there. You'd have to get it on the shelf, and I'm sure you could just take a look at it. I just haven't done that. I know most people just sit it there because it's like a couple $100. It's not like you have, and it's not as heavy. And worst case scenario, if it fell off, it's going to be hung on your like jumper hose. But I just don't think they're going anywhere. The only reason I'm really worried about securing the active or the other is because it's freaking 60 pounds, or the Krenzla, and that comes crashing out. It's going to break. It's going to rip things out of the wall. And so if you have your jumper hose attached and your inlet hose attached to an active, I just don't know that it's going anywhere. And if it did, it would just kind of hang from the hose until you get a chance to go out and put it back on the shelf.
All right, Grant wants to know, what's your opinion on California silent air compressors as an entry into the silent compressor world?
I thought that was my path, and I'm telling you, every one of those I've ever seen or used is always freaking broken. I yeah, it's. I don't know. Maybe I just had bad luck. But I mean, we're talking like a dozen of them. It's the standard. It's the go-to. It's a decent price, but I just don't think they're any good. But that's just my experience with it. I haven't really gone down that path of chasing an entry level, but it's something we definitely need to figure out.
Steve wants to know if you have any suggestions on black trim polishing. He attempted to compound and polish the trim, but it has this hazy, cloudy look. Not sure what to try next to restore that somewhat piano black finish.
Yeah, then you're going to want to maybe slow your speed down, maybe use either a little less or a little more product, and using like an ultra finishing polish. Like the perfect finish usually does pretty well on it, but if that doesn't work, then get something even finer. Something from a Menzern or something like that has a actual finishing polish with a Rupes white pad or a Lake Country black pad, something really soft. It might help.
Chris wants to know, do you know when the black hose nozzle will be back in stock? No, Chris. Email support at Obsessed Garage. They'll have the most up-to-date info, but it's going to be a while. I know that much. That's the ultimate hose nozzle thingy. Those things are pretty popular. Hey, Matt. This is from Mikey in the chat. Have you tried 3M Precision Poly Tape? It's purple and bends.
We threw it all away. It's freaking terrible.
We did have that
carrying it for a long time. I wanted to keep using it. It leaves all kinds of residue behind. It tears. Once you learn how to tear it, you can tear it well, and it is contourable. I was all excited about that. I brought it in the store. We had tons of it in stock, and I literally threw all of mine away. It's not good. I want to like it, and I kept fighting, and everybody kept telling me this is no good. I'm like, no, we're just not doing it right. It's not good tape. Not for polishing. It just leaves so much funky stuff behind. It's not good.
All right, Gary wants to know which car is going to be the next Wash and Talk?
I don't know. All of them need a wash and talk. So probably E36.
That was another question. When are we getting more E36 content?
Suspension is here.
Is that what came today in the pallet thing?
No, that was the brakes for the M2. So M2, E36, and M3 content, you're going to get more than you bargained for coming up here over the next few weeks once I get back from the mountains.
Yaman in the chat says, I saw the hose video yesterday. My question is, which hose comes with the ultimate portable accessory package?
The OG hose.
And then when are those going to be back in stock? That's... I don't know which piece we're missing in there.
Yeah, we're missing a piece. You always want to reserve your spot on those things, and we'll kind of ship it out as we're getting. We may be missing a coupler or something like that, but we have the hose. So, and I think we have the pressure washer too. That's just the accessory package. So maybe one of the fittings.
Inlet hose or something.
Probably an inlet hose.
Let's see. Wants to know. Oh, Dylan, Matt. Will Matt be stocking the cabinets with Little Debbie cakes at the OG Destination House?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to keep that stuff there because I'll eat it all. So it wouldn't be there for you either way. So if it was stock, I would be eating it all. And that would be fun to do some fun stuff like that. That's the other thing that's so freaking annoying is that like we went to this place and there was nothing. Not a cracker.
No coffee.
Nothing. Like just get some stuff and have it there, some bottles of water, just whoever's there last, you just kind of clean it up. Now if it's a half-eaten bag of Lay's, maybe we should throw that away, but let's just this is my house, just let some laundry detergent there. Everybody gets a fresh bar of Irish Spring. We're gonna get the Irish Spring, they have like the little smaller sizes, get all that, and it's gonna be good. But again, it's not going to be like I'm coming to wipe your bum for you. It's like you're on your own here. We're gonna make it a nice experience.
Where'd this question go here? Oh, will you be renting the house out to other YouTubers?
Well, maybe if they're clean and organized.
So no.
Yeah. So probably not.
Mr. CJB3 says, for engine bay, your M5 and Raptor videos show you spraying the D170 hyperdressing and letting it sit. Is the process the same for CarPro Pearl that's now sold with the engine bay package?
I don't think you can really let it sit there. You have to wipe it. The reason why we did it, we just can't get any D170. Pearl is a good alternative to it. So when I do Pearl, if I was going to do Pearl, I would spray it on, let it sit for a little while, and then wipe it flat.
We have a super chat here, $5 US from Eric Robinson. He has a possible solution to secure your active. I used M6 rubber well nuts from Amazon, put them into the bottom of my Ryobi, then run a bolt from under the shelf into the nut.
Yeah. I don't know if you can take the plastic out of if you can take the active apart. You probably could.
Let's see. Carbon Crew 96 this is our buddy up in Blairsville. The house you looked at in Blairsville is next door to my friend. It caught fire at one point, FYI. Oh, interesting.
The house you looked at in Blairsville. Which one was that? There was two in Blairsville. It was the one on the lake.
Do they have like a Carfax for houses? That's like.
And then the farmhouse was in Blairsville. So it must have been the one on the lake.
Yeah, let us know which one, Carbon Crew. Interested to know. Is Matt back on the? What is it? The meat only thing?
Not really.
No.
I'm on the Get Fat program. Yeah, it's not very good.
Carnivore diet, that's what it is.
Yeah, I'm on the Eat Everything I See diet.
On the lake, Carbon Crew says.
Yeah,
on the
okay.
lake.
That makes sense.
Caught fire at one point. Interesting.
It's a lot of money. The problem is it's a $600,000 house on the lake that they're asking almost $2 million for. It's just not worth that much.
All right, that's all the questions I got for today. It's 3:23 p.m. Thank you all for joining us. Next week, the OG and the Smokies is going on. So if you plan on going, if you have questions, Facebook group is a place to ask that. Shane Wendell, who is in the chat, you can get a hold of him or email us, and we'll help get you the answers you need. Hopefully you can join them up there next week.
Yeah, it'll be fun. See you soon.
Thank you all for the questions.
This is clutch.